See, today everybody owns an automobile by themselves. Everybody buys a tent. So everybody's bringing out their cycles and everything. So when they're doing something like this, you need a safe place for them. So imagine a person who's got a nice place and who's accessible from the main road and is actually towards a good destination. All he needs to do is a good fencing and maybe some small pantry section or maybe a small kitchen, and give them the space with power stations, to park their cars or caravans or bikes, and to probably pitch their own tents. They need not do anything. All you need is about a few couple of lakhs to start this kind.
Yeah, we're starting, okay? Frame is alright, yeah. Hey guys, what is up? I'm Salman and I host a podcast called Salman Needs a Job. I'm here right now at Trippr, a hostel, a backpackers hostel in Gokarna, Middle Beach. It's a really cool place, kind of secluded from the main beach because it's at a distance. So not many people come here, but it's very cool. I'm here with Anudeep. So Anudeep is really interesting. He is a hospitality consultant. He's the person who actually came up with the concept of the place and a lot more. So I want to find out about that, what he does as a hospitality consultant and what the work overall is like. So how are you, man?
I'm good.
So tell me a little bit about what do you do? Hospitality consultant. It's not something I've heard before. So, and as you were saying it earlier as well, it was like.
Yeah, so basically my background is that I come from a plantation background and started my homestay. So how it has to be done, what has to be done, what are the backgrounds around it, starting from building a website or how the website reaches to somebody, and then how do you get these bookings, how do you get these leads. So in a market with so much competition and having so many OTA platforms, those platforms where you go book the rooms and everything. So one needs to know or needs to be in a background or should have at least maybe get an idea on how to get these listed. So all the cumulative things put together, that's when the subject will come up, saying that okay, an hospitality consultant from end to end. Okay. Let's say from let a particular destination, how demanding is it, or what kind of rooms are in demand for that particular place, and how many rooms do you think is required in a particular place. You can't build less number of rooms and then you have more demand, or more number of rooms just because somebody has an investment and has less demand. And then what else is around it, basically, like whether what kind of setup it has to come, let alone it could be the designing of the cottages, starting from an architectural design or the exterior, the interiors, how budget it can be done. So all put together out of my personal experience, from starting the property and till the opening of it, and how it has to be popped out on the media. So like any kind of digital media. So that's what I do.
Very interesting. Let's talk from like the context of this particular hostel, okay? Trippr in Gokarna. So I can see that it's pretty sophisticated setup. You've got tents, you've got cottages, you're building something at the back like hostel and all that. Tell me how the kind of your work in doing this, in setting this up, your planning, and how's it been going and things like how long has it been in operation and all that?
So basically this property has been up for about 3 years now, and we just this property is getting shifted from our old destination and to the new destination. And well, for now it's all about having a good and comfortable space for people. So tents are the most cheapest part for people to stay. You have to attract all the kind of guests. You would love to entertain everyone. So starting from tents and then the dorms and the private cottages or the cabins, or plenty of them. You can have a classy tent to a classy cottage. It depends on what a person wants to spend.
Okay.
And due to COVID reasons, you always have to have you would love to cater to everyone, because certain people come at certain cost.
Yeah.
They want to travel but they don't want to spend. So that's how
I don't want to spend, I want to travel.
Yes, so that's how we want to cater.
Okay.
So for those people who wants to spend, they have all the kind of places available. For those people who wants to travel and not spend, you need to be under a tight budget. That's when your budget stays come along. Depending on maybe the tents could be the cheapest option wherever you find. And then comes the dorms, because you're sharing the beds with other unknown people like you or me, or and the private rooms are always on a slightly expensive end, but it's again budgeted. It's not very expensive.
You were actually catering to the different type of tourists that you would expect here. On the business side, how does it add up? And are you also, as a hospitality consultant, the one coming up with these structures and things like that?
Exactly. So so when you get into when you want to be a consultant in the hospitality sector, you need to have end-to-end experience in terms of you know from the starting of the from the designing of the concept. What you want to do. Whether it's a homestay, whether it's an Airbnb, whether it's a tiny villa that you want to go for, or you want to have a tiny space villa but with an exotic location with a high thing, or so basically a very high end villa, I would say, or coming back to a hostel, lodging, what else, a resort, anything, or you can have even a cruise boat or a yacht, or an island resort or anything of those sorts. So you need to, or we need to have, or I need to have a particular pick in terms of the designs, and then go with the investment, listening to the client of what he needs, and then coming into the picture of getting them to design or finding them a right architect, for example. Because I would have my travel experience is about that. Basically, I have a lot of architect connects, who design something nice and exclusive that's not probably done. I won't say that way, but at least not something tried within your surrounding. Something nice and exclusive also needs to pop out in terms of exteriors, and then comes the interior, and then depending on the ideas that's cumulatively built from the investor who wants to do it within his own property, or whether it could be personally me or even you for that matter, whoever wants to do it, and then curating it until the construction is done and it's launched. That's where I will come.
When you say curating, you mean the entire experience that you're
Entire experience until it's done, it's launched. I will make sure I am there, or a representative from my end is there, and we get this completely built, or we have certain number of visits that's been done, and then we'll launch it for you.
Tell me, like, building something like this, what kind of task force is involved? What kind of people?
Well, I'll tell you, the when you construct something on the beach, it always comes with a huge cost when you don't have access to roads.
But we are right in front of the beach, by the way, literally. Yeah.
So what happens is, coming back to the geographical features of Gokarna, all the beaches in Gokarna don't have road access. You have to park your whatever the vehicle you travel in at a certain place, and then walk by to reach a lot of places. So 90%, I would say, the properties in Gokarna don't have road access. I'm talking about only the beaches. So coming back to these things, the labor force is of a very huge task. You will need on an average, about 20 to 30 people working.
Okay. Now, I want to extract some of your knowledge for someone who has some property or something, or even thinking about opening some sort of a place like this, because backpackers is very attractive.
True.
And I think based on some of the other places I've visited as well, is some of them is just like a building with really nice interiors and all that, and they have these like a lot of people coming in busy places, Mumbai or Bangalore and all that. So how does can you give some advice, like in a short?
See, basically today's knowledge is all about digital marketing, and people need something nice. They don't want to settle down to something basic. I'm not talking about exactly the what do you say? What are the facilities that you give? I'm only talking about the vibe that you actually provide.
Yeah.
You can just have a simple shack built out of coconut. Leaves, or you can build it out of a shipping container, or wood, or logs. There are a lot of things to try. I am trying out of shipping container for one of my projects, and I'm also trying to do something out of the leftover buses that you can buy from the yard, and
That'd be awesome.
so these are something that I would love to try
I
on.
always wonder, like, these trucks that you find, right? I think in the movies and all you'll find these, like in the
Caravans.
US they had caravans.
Yeah.
Those are so fitting for something like a
They
scale
really do. But when you want to hire such things, there are about few companies who do, and I know one such company who are launching, who are based out of Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Mumbai. They're launching about 20 vehicles, but it also comes from an expensive end.
Yeah. So it's something similar, like in Dubai last year when I was there was a trend of like food trucks, okay, and someone I know, like what she was doing as not someone I directly know, a mutual friend, but I like to brag that I know, is renting out a space just for this purpose. So they don't do anything. They simply rent out land and then
Very true.
other
See, this is
food trucks come and
one such thing I've already seen in Kerala in Alleppey. They have a space. They have just given out a space. For 2 or 3 food trucks to rent on. They just take the place. On rent. So that's something good. Probably people should start concentrating on these for caravans too. Like somebody who wants to park their bikes but they're not reaching their destination. All they want to do is just park their bikes, sleep next to the bike, maybe have a camping area. So there are a lot of demands and a lot of new things that can pop up as concepts.
yeah. And especially during this time, I think when people are so desperate to simply step out and explore, which will probably remain for a while.
Very true.
I think there's so much
Interesting,
creative ways to do it.
Exactly, because see, today everybody owns an automobile by themselves. Everybody buys a tent. Today I think one of the most fastest moving. I think the most highest thing was the moving during the COVID times was cycle. So everybody's bringing out their cycles and everything. So when they're doing something like this, you need a safe place for them. So imagine a person who's got a nice place and who's accessible from the main road and is actually towards a good destination. All he needs to do is a good fencing and maybe some small pantry section or maybe a small kitchen, and give them the space with power stations, to park their cars or caravans or bikes, and to probably pitch their own tents. They need not do anything. All you need is about a couple of lakhs to start this kind. Okay. Anybody can do this today, and
Awesome tip. A lot of people will have that much saved, and for those of you, you can consider something like that.
Maybe it won't even cost much. I'm talking about having 2 to 3 toilets, toilets or bathrooms. It costs about 25,000-30,000 rupees in a basic way, and a platform for you need not have space for about 100 tents. I'm talking about 2 to 3 tent spaces at least, so that those people can go and talk about it. And maybe a space for
Super minimal.
a car to park or 2 cars to park. Somebody wants to crash in Gokarna or, for example, in Murdeshwar, but they don't want at this time to go somewhere to a hotel or anything of those sort. They just want to pass by. That's always a good thing. Maybe about 50 to 1 lakh rupees. Having a place like that on the main road is always a good thing.
Yeah. I always felt like Airbnb actually started at the back of a conference. They started like providing air bread and breakfast to conference goers of one particular conference. And as I attend conferences elsewhere, I always, like in Mumbai, Bangalore, I always look for these hostels, and I feel there's so much demand for more like this, because Bangalore, example, is filled with conferences and events happening all the time. Sure. And for someone who's coming solo traveling, it's always preferred for them to pay.
There are a lot of spaces like these that's growing up in South India. I mean, South India has a lot of potential. North India has literally flourished in terms of the concept of hostel and co-working spaces and everything, of the co-living spaces and everything. So probably if people can start looking up in these holiday destinations, to all those who have spaces or wants to have such spaces, I think it's going to be a wonderful time to extract these kind of concepts and build them in South India, because South India, I can literally count them, the number of properties that are there in South India, such backpacker hostels.
Okay.
There is a lot of scope for
that
this.
That is opportunity. That is pure opportunity. I'm very sorry. It's very dark. The video I see is very dark. We started out with a little light, but it has dimmed down right now. So finally, I just want to find out about you, if you can share what are your plans moving forward, and also where people can find you and what they can learn from you and things like that.
They can reach out to me on my Instagram. It's called What's Allemari, WHATS_ALEMAARI. Okay. And apart,
that, by the way?
Allemari means, it's a slang in Kannada for wanderer.
Okay.
So it's just a purely slang, that they used to call me, because I used to be always out of the house even when I was a kid.
Okay.
Playing on the streets, roaming around. You always have your thing to do when you're back then.
Yeah.
90s was way back cooler.
Okay.
Than the 2000s and these things. So looking at these things, yes. The next thing probably would be doing is maybe building another one like this, or maybe not, or maybe having just a tiny villa, maybe. So it's trying to. I'm working on a concept with a container home. Okay. So I want to just try it out, and for myself, within a lake or a private backwater or something. I've got a few things to look at. So maybe I will come up with one of those and see how it goes.
Awesome, Ruth. Thank you so much for talking, and really appreciate the knowledge, and good speaking to you here. And guys, this is Trippr. I'm gonna put the description down below, and also, as I said, I'm Salman. Subscribe to this channel. All right, have a good one.